Our exams coming up, but there are about 50 of you Litvaks here at IDC these days. Okay, now IDC, we see IDC basically as an ally of the South African Zionist Federation and of Telfed, because we see this program in the Raphael Recanati International School as an opportunity for South African youngsters to come to Israel and study here, and then after they finish their degrees, they can decide what they want to do with their life. They can decide to go back to South Africa, they can decide to move to Toronto, or to Australia, or to San Diego, or do whatever they want with their life, or they can decide, like a bunch of South Africans have decided, to stay in Israel. Okay, and a number of the graduates of the recent class, I know a young woman, for example, who just finished her MA here, and she's now serving in the Israeli intelligence, okay, in the IDF. Okay, so there are different strokes for different folks, but this really is an academic absorption center for South Africans, okay, and that's the first premise, okay, and that absorption center doesn't mean that we're forcing you to stay in the state of Israel for the rest of your life. It's just 3 years to weigh the assets and liabilities of this country. In the end, 70% of you decide to stay here, so I guess there must be something good that's taking place. Okay, that's number one. Number two, by a show of hands here, okay, how many of you have at least 500 friends on Facebook? By show of hands. At least 500, okay? How many of you don't own a computer? Because some of you didn't raise your hand. How many of you have 1,000 friends on Facebook? Don't be bashful, raise your hand high, okay? So if we have about 25 or 30 students in this room right now, and the average has about 500 friends on Facebook, that's 15,000 friends on Facebook, okay? Now how many of you have a lot of friends still in South Africa on your Facebook with your friends? Raise your hand. You see, it's most of you. It's most of you. And how many of you have a lot of friends between the age of, let's say, 17 and 25? How many? Okay, well, I've got news for you. There aren't that many Jews alive in South Africa, okay, between the age of 17 and 25. I guarantee you there are not 10,000, okay? I guarantee you there are not 5,000, okay? I guarantee you there are only a few thousand. Probably in this room right now, you cover a huge percentage of the youth in South Africa your age. So how many of you are willing to get on your Facebook and help Stephanie before she goes down to South Africa? How many? By show of hands. Okay? Well, it's a vast majority of you. Abdi the Queen is on the phone and I will not answer her. This is my daughter. It comes out Abdi the Queen. That's what she put in my... You weren't here before, were you?
No.
Please stand up. Rise. Tell us where you're from, what school, what city?
I'm third year psychology.
Yep.
Originally from Johannesburg, but I've been more Israeli than South African. I've lived here since I was 7.
Okay, we just counted you kind of like for the statistics.
Okay.
To make it look like there's more South Africans than there really are. But we love you anyway. And you can have a free breakfast at our expense. And you can also apply for Telfed scholarship, by the way, because there's no limitation on when you came from South Africa.
Okay.
And there are very few free lunches from Telfed or IDC, so take anything you can get. And there's a free Telfed magazine out there also.
Okay, thank you.
All right, terrific. So first of all, what I'd like is this. Before you leave this room, take out a piece of paper, Stephanie, okay, and take down the names, okay, of all the people who are willing to help you with Facebook, because it might be easier for you to find them, you know what I mean? If they write their name down and their email address and stuff, and they were here, okay? So take the piece of paper out, not that little piece of paper, find a bigger piece of paper, Stephanie, and put it around the tables here, okay? It's a good thing that Elil is here to help you, okay? Thank God there's someone from Events and Ceremonies, okay, who has pieces of paper, okay? That's number one, okay? Number two, okay? How many students of communications are there here? Raise your hands, folks. Okay, this is my question to you. I've organized that you guys can get a sophisticated camera, okay? From the School of Communications, all right? I'd like the 3 or 4 of you to volunteer together with Stephanie to go around with your camera. I want you to film 6 or 7 South African kids on campus who live to tell the story. Okay? It should be mixed up between all of the graduates of the different schools in South Africa. I want Stephanie to take it to South Africa. Okay? Then I want this video clip to go on the website of Telfed. I want this video clip to go on the website of Telfed. Can we do that? We can do that. Okay? I also want, Stephanie, that your coming to South Africa should be covered by the website of Telfed. Okay? The trick is that what we try to do before Stephanie comes to South Africa is organize all of the interviews before she comes. We're one of these weird universities that actually sends people to South Africa who speak English. Okay? Because it doesn't go in turns on who hasn't been to South Africa yet and who gets the eshel, the type of thing. You know, it doesn't go that the guy who only speaks French, okay, it's his turn to go to South Africa type of thing. Okay, and then he goes with his wife and spends the next 2 weeks going on a safari afterwards, okay, which is fine. All of our guys can go on safari, but not on this short-term shlichut. So what we try to do, and Rabbi Doron Klein began actually this precedent when Doron was the shaliach in South Africa of Telfed. He was basically the shaliach of Telfed, and I think of what used to be the Jewish Agency. I'm not sure exactly what they call themselves anymore these days. There's some agent, I guess, for some organization in Israel, the Jewish Agency. I don't know. It's unclear exactly what their role with Aliyah Klita is these days. But what used to happen when Doron was there, I can't say the same for every shaliach that came after Doron, because some of the other shlichim were so interested in public relations that they forgot about Klita and Aliyah, and they thought their job was to fill airplanes and take photographs. But when some of those guys didn't have customs benefits, or when we had one guy who landed here who had both a scholarship for Masa and a Sal Klita of Mishwara Klita, we began realizing that full airplanes aren't enough. Okay, you also have to deal with the Olim and tell them about their benefits and stuff. I think we now have the right balance again. Okay, I'm glad to see that. But what happened when Doron was there, I came down, I think, for the first short-term shlichut. I decided to come down for the first time. And what Doron had 20 interviews lined up for us in his office. Okay? And those 20 interviews, they really were the Chot Chanit, the spearhead of what I call the critical mass of South African students at IDC Herzliya. So Telfed played a major role, okay? And we can't succeed without cooperating with Telfed. Now I'll tell you a small secret. We don't really make that much of a profit, okay, with our students from South Africa, because we give out quite a few scholarships. Because in South Africa, when someone is not earning that much money, or if they're middle class, let's put it this way, the average middle class person in South Africa frequently can't afford to pay tuition here because they're making rands and they're not making dollars, and so we try to be as liberal as we can, just like Telfed tries to help, we try to help. We don't want to be in a position where we have an outstanding student from a Jewish day school or from Crawford or from somewhere in South Africa wants to come and study here, and because of $10,000 tuition, we don't want to turn that person away. So we do what we can to help. Telfed does what it can to help, and many of the students here go out and work for a living. They go back to the old school of Vilna. By the way, we should invite the Lithuanian ambassador to Israel. Are you guys close with him? I'm very close with him, by the way. When I had Christmas dinner at his house, he made vegetarian for me. Okay, I didn't have to eat the turkey. He made vegetarian for me. But that guy is also in charge of South Africa. Have you guys ever done a cover story on him in Telfed magazine? Time to do it. The guy is so pro. He considers himself a Litvak, by the way. And he's also a 10K champion. He runs with Larissa Medilovich. He trains with her. So you know what? Do a piece on him, because he loves the Jewish community in South Africa. You should have actually come sometime to one of your functions at Telfed and have him speak to you guys.
We're doing a project with him.
A project?
Yeah.
But the guy's like totally user friendly. So use the guy. In fact, I think I should have him meet the students here, because he, by the way, he is also the Lithuanian ambassador to South Africa as well as Israel. And he flies down to South Africa a few times a year because he represents Lithuania. Lithuania doesn't have the budget to have a full-time guy in South Africa. All right, so the 4 students of communications, do you volunteer to help Stephanie? Are you willing to do that? You are, okay? So they're here, okay? So we're going to do that video clip. And what else do we have left? Okay, what we have left is this. We have about 50 students now from South Africa here on campus. I'd like to continue increasing that number. At one time we were at 60, we went down a little bit. I also think the Jewish population of South Africa is going down a little bit. I also think that the number of students in the age groups